The NAACP is celebrating its 100th anniversary. In this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups, I sit down with Dot Scott of the Charleston branch of the NAACP. Dot, it is so good to see you.
Same here. I'm glad to be with you today.
Thank you. And it's a great day for the NAACP because you actually are celebrating your 100th anniversary.
100th today, to the day, April 14th, 1917, and 100 years later, this is where we are.
1917 to right now. What is the biggest thing that sticks out in your mind?
How far we've come, how much work that has really been done here in Charleston. Even, the shoulders that we stand on, those folks that came before us, that allowed the branch, I worked hard to keep an NAACP presence and to make a difference and changes, whether it be in education and housing.
Right.
We look at some of the weight wearing trial.
Right.
All of those issues, when you think about the people that were fighting so long, and to be a part of that, it's so gratifying.
You have been at the helm as president of the Charleston branch of the NAACP for 15 years. As we sit here right now, describe Dot Scott, president of the NAACP.
It was what I call an unlikely possibility, an unlikely situation where I ended up being president. In fact, that was part of the discussion as those who were dropping in today,
right.
And we were reminiscing. Just over Luther Seabrook was
right.
we visited, and we talked about it. And by default, I accepted the president of the NAACP. But civil rights has always been a passion with me. So even prior to becoming really active, I've been a member since 85, life member since 85, wow. And I've been a member before that time. But when I took the helm in 2001, right. It was unnatural for me to move from where I had been doing unofficially in terms of dealing with issues of civil rights. So it was obviously destination that I'd be here.
And we talked off camera about your style. A lot of people like it, some people actually hate it.
Mm-hmm.
What is it like to be Dot Scott when you're dealing with people who like you and people who don't like you?
It's a good balance for me. I think that if you think you're going to be agreed with all the time, every time, then you probably don't need to be in public service. If you, particularly as a volunteer, I think sometimes we give credibility to people speaking depending on what the salary is. Mm-hmm. This is not a salary position. It's a passion, a commitment to do what I do. So while I think the change of things that have happened here in recent years here in Charleston had given folks an opportunity to look in a new way at some of the issues that I have been bringing in front of them, and I have this style of, if I believe this is what it is, I'm going to stand up for it. I am going to advocate for it because the facts will speak for themselves. There's no alternative truth to the facts. The facts are what it is. And we have lived through some really trying times. I've had an opportunity to do some things in terms of advocating for resolving issues around racial profiling in a really big and continuous way. So I expect to have the pushback, but for some reason, for every pushback, 10 pushback, just one success of getting something done, it's worth the fight. It is worth it every time. So I am just committed. As long as I'm in this position, right. I will be committed, and I will be prepared to take the pushback. I'll be prepared to take whatever adverse conversation or discussions being had, because I've got this little religious thing that says, you're not the first one they talked about. If they can talk about great people to the point where
Jesus.
People are willing, yes, who am I to complain about they're talking about me?
Well, let me turn to some developing news. And this is from ABC News 4's Twitter page. The headline reads this: McMaster supports letting people openly carry handguns. Tell me, where does your mind go to when you hear this?
Only in South Carolina. That we would, and when I say only in South Carolina, some of the decision we make you almost think that we're digressing in terms of what is best for the citizens, and when we look at the issue of the gun, the violence that stems from folks legitimately owning them, then to move that to another step where folks can carry a gun in such an intimidating way. It's not that they shouldn't be allowed to carry if they've got the proper permit, but to have open carry where people can just walk around with guns and move into a space where you have children, where you have issues where folks are able to drink and mix other things with the quick access to guns. So I just think it's just such a bad, we're really going down with, as most of the politicians say, a slippery slope. I think we're at the bottom already.
Wow. Let me turn you to Charleston County. This is a headline in the Post-Courier from, I believe, yesterday, April 12th. Report: admissions at the Charleston County's jail dropped by 30% between 2014 and 2016. If you were to rewrite that headline, what would you add to that headline?
I'm thinking I want to make sure I put it just right, because when I read it,
right,
and I was a part of the press conference
right,
yesterday, I said, wow. And the wow was because I'm a believer that if you can't measure it, you're guessing about whether or not it's been successful or not. I honestly feel that that headline could be extended. What a difference it's going to make in the life of so many, particularly African American and African American males, and not exclusively. However, when we look at the population of our jails, right, it's quick to make the assessment of who are your majority that's in the jails, and for minor stuff, you've got people who can commit bad crime, and because they can afford bail, they're out on the street. We've got people who, for public intoxication, are being locked up. We have people for minor driving with a suspended license, right, that are locked up, loses jobs and everything. So the initiative that's happening now there at the jail is making a major difference in so many ways in the lives of so many. And I think to have a drop in 2 years speaks volumes to how there are folks out there working to make things different and make things better.
I want to turn you back to, I guess, 2 weeks ago, the incident that took place at the Andrews Discount Market. Mm-hmm. Obviously, that particular video of the alleged shoplifting suspect went viral. Mm-hmm. When you looked at that particular video, where were you emotionally?
Well, when I saw the video, I'm highly disturbed that the abuse was taken, that was being taken against the alleged shoplifter. I would understand a citizen's arrest if that's what the shop owners believe, that this guy was either in the act of committing a crime. There's no excuse and there's no justification for what we saw in terms of abuse. I think we call it taking the law in your own hands. And I think that was what I saw, and really disappointed that those who would have business in neighborhoods, like neighborhoods, a majority of them are minority neighborhoods, to expect that somehow they would not be subject to the same kind of possibility of crime that's in that neighborhood. So I'm thinking, well, that's what you've got your video for. And if you can apprehend them, we're not talking about somebody trying to rob you with a gun or something like that, where you have to take some action that maybe is more violent. You're talking about somebody that's a shoplifter that you have all the right to, as I said, to do a citizen arrest. But you have no right to physically, what I say, let me take care of the judge, jury, and the sentencing of this person.
Let me stay in North Charleston, because you told the Post-Courier this recent quote on the stay at North Charleston. I have been pretty frustrated with North Charleston over the years. Habits don't change overnight, but I think we're in an improved place right now. Talk to me about that improved place in your mind.
The improved place is kind of what I call, it's not steady. You see that there are efforts being made to do one thing, but I still say old habits don't change fast. When we saw the video that obviously that has been undercover for so long, a couple of years, about the officer that was a part of disseminating a video that was so, obnoxious and sickening and disgusting, and all of the really bad adjectives we can come up with, to know that we have officers that are still on the police force with the city of North Charleston. It makes us, it's like that 1 or 2 step you see going forward, there's so much still ingrained that says it's okay. And so that's where I am. I see some efforts being made, and hopefully it's really genuine, and let's go forward. And I say that because I am cautious in not making it sound like every police officer that's out there is out there to commit a crime or to not follow procedures and standards. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying, though, we still have too many that's been allowed to remain in place. And I think that anytime you have a situation where you've got an officer who is there to protect and serve, and one of the things you usually hear police officers say when there's been a killing or some violent act perpetrated by the officer, I fear for my life. Well, I would fear for my life to meet up with an officer who would put that video out and believe that it's funny. What if you encounter somebody like that believes so little of who you are, what your life is worth? So I think that's pretty much where I am, where I'm still willing to work to make a difference, because we're not going anywhere. We're still going to be there.
Okay.
We as a people, we as a community, well, regardless of what color you are, even if you're what I consider not wealthy, but if you live in a certain neighborhood, you can expect that there are going to be some issues. But then that's where we need to continue to do the work, but be cognizant of the fact that reality is what it is. And I think that that's the part where I still believe we've got some serious work to do.
You talk about serious work to do, and I actually eavesdropped on a conversation that you had earlier, but you kept asking the person the question, where does the NAACP go from here? Mm-hmm. So let me ask you bluntly, where does the NAACP go from here, Doc?
Well, I tell folks, and I've said this in the past, much of what we do end up being reactionary, not by choice, but because we are to protect the civil rights. In other words, these are things that are already given to a citizen. Okay. And when that's being violated, taken away from us, so we are reacting to that. But by on the other side, what it does, it gives us an opportunity that if we see folks or group working to make things better, I think we at least owe it to ourselves as a community to see whether that's somewhere where we can be a part of it and affect some changes. So that's where I see the NAACP. We continue to do what our mission is. We're clear on our mission. The NAACP, we're a civil rights organization, and our job is to protect the civil rights of every individual, regardless of race, creed, color, religion, sexual orientation, all of that. That's what we do. And while in the process of doing that, I think we need to not only look for opportunity, but reach out to other people that you can work with to make a difference. Because we still can look back and say, much of what began to happen with the lynching years ago, it happened because there are people of goodwill that weren't African Americans that decided that enough is enough and we need to do something about it. Some of what you see after the killing of the Mother Emanuel 9 and some of what we saw after the killing of Walter Scott has generated a desire in people who probably was just sitting back and saying, I didn't know it was that bad, or we didn't think it was like that. And they're willing now to work. So we need to meet these people rather than just continue to just talk about how it was without working with how we want it to be.
Okay.
I don't want to talk about how it was as much as I want to talk about how it is now, and where do we move from here?
You talk about reaching out to other folks. Who are you reaching out to as we sit here?
Well, the groups that I find that I feel are working, like we're talking particularly with the police department,
Okay.
because I think out of all the things that happen, education and our police department is so critical to the lives of minority. And education stands to me first, but the police department can be the end of whatever life or whatever education. So those things are really important. When I see groups out here working
Okay.
to make things better along the line, particularly with the community and the police department, I think that's why I am a willing participant in the project like the Illumination Project.
Sure.
In the project like with the MacWorth grant program with the jail,
Right.
with the, even with my past adversarial relationship with the city of North Charleston,
Right.
I'm still willing to work to make things better. I just want to be very careful and clear that I'm not there to make it look like things are better. I'm there to really make sure we understand that it's not I'm here to protect the minority community, and everybody else or some of the other people are there to protect the police department. I'm here to make sure everybody's protected. I'm here to make sure that the community is not abused, and to make sure that if the police department is accused, that these people are given due process as well. Yet that we don't automatically assume that we need to just, all of these officers are bad. No. But just like all the citizens are not good in their behavior, all the officers are not good in their behavior. The difference in our officers and the citizens are not trained on how to behave. Officers are trained and paid.
You talk about your relationship with North Charleston. What is that like right now?
We're talking. We're talking. And when I say we're talking, I don't know whether it has become convenient or maybe an opportunity
Okay.
for North Charleston to say, you know what, let's invite Doc to be a part of the commission. Because, quite frankly, I was invited to be a part, and it wasn't a decision that I made lightly. I really wanted to make sure that you do understand that this is not window dressing, that I am either going to be there and I'm going to be vocal, or I'm going to be gone. Because if my presence does not affect positive change in the behavior or the relationship between the police department and the community, I've got other things I can do.
Dot Scott, thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate this.
Thank you for speaking with me.
Anytime.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.